So I have finally found the perfect sensitivities for all controller players in Chapter 5. And if you guys are struggling to find your perfect sensitivity or binds, make sure you watch this entire video because I'm going to be going over the perfect controller sensitivity / controller binds. And this includes all play styles such as claw, non-claw, paddles, or no paddle. And if this video helps you, I would appreciate it if you use my code DISC in the Fortnite item shop. First up, we're going to be talking about people who play non-claw and non-paddles. And the primary focus of these controller binds / settings is to allow you to never take your thumb off the right analog stick, also known as R3. As everyone knows, anyone who plays non-claw and non-paddles are at a huge disadvantage. First up, we have the edit bind, which needs to be L3, as it's crucial to use L3 as your finger's always going to be on that left trigger as you're moving constantly, which is going to help you edit way faster and be more consistent in fights without having to take that right thumb off the analog stick, which is easily going to make you 100 times better as a player. Now moving on to the next bind for the non-claw, non-paddle players out there, you're going to want to map your jump bind to R3 as well. And what this is going to do is allow you to jump, edit, and build all at the same time without taking your thumbs off the analog stick, which is crucial, especially in competitive Fortnite. As everyone knows, most of the top controller players either play on claw grip or they use some type of paddle feature on the back of their controllers. And so by having these two binds on each analog stick, this is going to help you compete with the pros by never moving your thumbs off the analog stick. Next, I highly recommend you guys playing on flip buttons, which basically means instead of aiming with L2 and shooting with R2, you're going to completely flip the button options. You're going to aim with L1 and shoot with R1, and this is going to allow you to aim and shoot much faster than your opponents. This is going to help you a ton, especially with your aim on controller while using these binds. Next, for your sprint, I highly recommend you guys using right on the D-pad, as it's right beside your left analog stick. So all you guys simply have to do is take your left thumb that's on the analog stick and move it to the right of the D-pad, and you will automatically sprint. And then finally, for your edit binds, I highly recommend you guys using R1 as your confirm, as well as R2 for the reset. And I would use triangle or Y for my pickaxe, as these are the best possible binds for non-claw and non-paddle players. Now let's hop right into the controller settings themselves, and this is going to help any type of play style, so claw, non-claw, paddles, or no paddles. So first up, the most important thing you guys need to be looking at when you open up your settings is going to be your frame rate. Now, if you guys are on console, you guys need to be putting that at 120 FPS. But if you guys are still playing on the old gen consoles and only getting 60 frames per second, just know that you are at a huge disadvantage, especially since ranked and tournaments are now cross-platform. I highly recommend you guys try your best to upgrade to a new gen console, although I'm very aware that some people may not be fortunate enough to do that, so it's all good. But if you are a PC on controller player such as myself, you need to have your frame rate limit to whatever hertz your monitor is on the game. So for example, I have a 240 hertz monitor, and that's the max frames I can get regardless if I put my frame rate to 360 or limited. The max frames that the game's going to allow me to get is 240 frames. And if you put your frame rate limit on something that's above your monitor hertz, it's going to give you severe input delay. So for example, if you guys play on a 144 hertz monitor, I would definitely cap my FPS at 144 frames per second to minimize any input delay you will get in game. Next, for the brightness, I play at 100%. Now, if you guys are on console, I highly recommend you guys playing at 150%. And I would recommend using colorblind mode Tritanope 8, as this is going to help you see your opponents in the storm. And it's an absolute amazing combo, especially if you're in Endgame and ranked or tournaments, to help you get those free kills from people rotating out of the storm. Now, moving on to the graphics quality settings. Now, I am playing on performance mode on PC. And if you don't, there's going to be a ton of options right here. You need to turn all those options off or low, except your view distance, which needs to be on medium or far, as this is going to help maximize your frames, especially when you're in Endgame, which is very crucial in, like ranked in tournaments and stuff. And as a controller player, we're already at a disadvantage against keyboard players because we don't have scroll wheel reset and stuff like that. So you need every single competitive advantage you can get. So make sure you guys are copying these down one by one. And if you guys are on console, as you can see, my brightness is on 150. And when you're on console, you're forced to play with shadows on. So having your brightness all the way up to 150 minimizes any type of shadows from being in the box. Now, I know I'm on PC, but I did turn my shadows on. And as you can see, there's barely any shadows within my box. And moving on, audio is basically personal preference. So I'm not going to go over that because it gives you no competitive advantage. So let's go ahead and hop right into my movement and combat settings. First up, I have toggle sprint off because I like to have that crisp controller movement and the ability to be able to stop on a dime. I think it's very important as a controller player to utilize the good movement that we do have. So that's why my toggle sprint is turned off. Auto open doors is on because, I don't want to do that manually. That's super annoying. Mantle activation needs to be on hold jump, and hurdle activation also needs to be on press jump. And this is going to allow you to basically just hop up onto your opponents really fast, get that quick mantle, maybe even get a 200 pump on them. Super crucial, especially when build fighting. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about once you guys turn those on. Now moving on to my combat settings right here. Now make sure you guys pay super close attention right here. My hold to swap pickup is off. Toggle targeting is off. Mark danger when targeting, turn that on. Auto pickup weapons is going to be off for me. My preferred item slots. Okay, guys, so if you guys are a controller player, this is the best loadout that you guys should be using as a controller player. This is how every single pro controller player's loadout looks as well. In your first slot, you're going to want to have your shotgun. And the reason your shotgun wants to be in that first inventory slot, so let's just say there's an opponent on the other side of this wall. So if I break the wall, replace it with mine, the first weapon that my controller is automatically going to switch to is my shotgun. So I can easily make a quick peanut butter piece and get get a quick shot on my opponent if someone was there. Or if I was in an intense build fight just like this, the first weapon that I would always switch to is a pump so I can get that quick and easy damage off of my opponent fast. And the same thing goes with the AR. So if I have my pickaxe out or have my builds out, all I have to do is click that right analog stick or the left analog stick, and it'll go straight to my AR for distance or shotguns for those close encounter fights. And you also need to have your SMG in the slot right beside your shotgun, because let's just say someone was in this box right here. All I have to do is edit this wall, pump, and I can easily finish off the kill by pulling out my SMG and just spraying in the opponent's box. And for the direct middle of the loadout, as you can see, it needs to be your consumable or healing item, because if you get shot and need to box up real quick, it's in the middle of your inventory, as you want the most important, such as your weapons and movement on the end, and the movement is going to be right beside the healing item as well. Next, moving on to the building options, I do have reset building choice on, disable pre-edit option on, as well as turbo building. Now moving on to the most controversial topic, and that's going to be auto confirm edits. You guys need to make sure that this is on off. Now guys, I completely understand you want to be able to edit faster as a controller player, but that's pretty much the only thing auto confirm edit is good for. It's only for looking flashy in creative clips, and it does not translate outside of creative in tournaments or ranked at all. Now for example, let's just say someone was on the other side of this wall. Now with auto confirm edits on, all I have to do is take these 3 tiles right here, and it would automatically edit, leaving my crosshair in the air like this. But if I have auto confirm edits off, I can click these 3 tiles right there, and instead of the edit confirming way up here where my crosshair is not at an ideal spot for me to look at my opponent, with auto confirm off, I can look at my opponent and get a way better peek. And that has to do with every single thing on controller, such as if I'm in a box and an opponent's right here and I have him weak, but I'm also weak, if I simply did this, it's going to auto confirm, and my opponent's going to predict that like crazy, as he's going to be hard aiming at me in the first place. So that's why auto confirm edits on controller is the worst possible decision you could be doing if you truly want to get better as a controller player. Moving on to replays, you guys need to have all of these off. Now I know I have mine on right here, but I am going to turn it off, such as record replays, record large team replays, record creative replays, and record high quality replays. You need to make sure that all of these are turned off, as this is going to help your input delay a ton. And if you guys are on PC, you need to turn these off as well, as by doing so, this is going to help your frames as well as your input delay by a ton. Moving on to reticle and damage feedback. Now this is crucial for all controller players. My reticle is on. My reticle ammo indicator is also on. That is very important, because if you try to shoot your gun and it has no ammo, it's going to pop up red on your screen. My damage numbers is on cumulative, and my reticle damage feedback is on hit only, because I've noticed when I put it on hit and icons, it pops up way too many numbers, and it kind of blocks out the person, especially if they're at a far away, which could cause me to miss some shots, which is obviously not ideal, especially if you're on controller. You need to be trying to hit every single shot and having the best aim possible. So that's why I like the OG hit only. My damage number scale is at a default 100%. That's just how I like mine. Use yours as you want. My HUD scale is on 90%, but I would personally recommend you guys playing on like anywhere from 75 to 85. I only have 90% because I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing in YouTube videos. Next, we have keyboard settings, and obviously I'm not a keyboard player, and this is not a keyboard and mouse video, but you guys do need to have all of these settings right here ticked to off, because this could also increase your input delay on controller, especially if you're a PC on controller. So make sure you guys come into the keyboard tab and click all of these settings to off. And then moving on to the actual controller settings that are good for every single controller player in Chapter 5, I have controller auto run off and build immediately builder pro on. For your edit hold time, you want to have it at the lowest possible number, because you want to be able to click that button and for it to react as fast as possible. For my slide hold time, I personally have mine on 0.080 seconds. Now this is basically personal preference, but I feel like this is best for all controller players to be at that, because you do want to utilize that slide mechanic, as it can save your life, especially in some build fights or box fights. And obviously for my controller vibration, I have that turned off, because that can really affect your aim if you guys are using vibration on your controller. For quick weapon, nobody really uses that. It's kind of garbage right now on controller, as it is still in beta testing, so do not use this. Just have this on custom only and turn it off. Now for the sensitivity themselves, as you guys can see, they are both on the base number of 5, and then I have both the build and edit mode sensitivity multiplier on 2.1, as I have found this to be the perfect sensitivity, especially in Chapter 5 for all controller players, no matter what play type you are. For example, I've tried 1.8 and 1.9 before. Those are a little too slow for my liking, and then I've also tried 2.4 by 2.4, and that's a little too fast. So I feel like 2.1 is that happy medium ground that is perfect for all controller players. And of course, I also play with advanced options on. You guys need to be playing with this as well. And for both my look horizontal and vertical speed, they're both going to be at 43, as this is the best horizontal and vertical speed for all controller players, because majority of the controller pros have their percentage at either 40 to 45%. So you guys can play around and fiddle with what you like best. I like 43, and I feel like it's the best because it's in between. And then moving on to the boost portion of the section, I do not use any type of boost, because when I used to use this, I found that my aim as well as edits used to be fast but very inconsistent when I use boost. So now I use no boost, and my aim and edits are better than ever. Moving on, I do have instant boost when building on. And moving on to the aim down sight settings, for me, I play on a 12-12 for Chapter 5. Most controller players you guys see are playing anywhere from 8 to 12 range, so I personally like 12-12. You can fiddle around with this. I would definitely recommend not going going below 8 or above 12. Like I said, 12 in my opinion is the perfect percentage. I know Soy plays on 14, which I think is a little insane, so I like playing on 12. And of course, I don't use any boost at all, especially when aiming. Do not ever use boost. It's gonna mess your aim up like crazy. And then for the look dampening time, mine is at 0 seconds, and I do play on linear. My aim assist strength is obviously at 100, but there's also a new glitch in chapter 5 that makes you lose your aim assist. So if you guys are playing mid-game, you could literally lose your aim assist all the way fully. And that simply happens by if you accidentally touch your keyboard and mouse while you're in a game and you're playing on controller, the game is going to automatically think you're playing on keyboard for the rest of the game, no matter if you switch back to your controller. So to fix that, all you guys need to do is come into here, put your aim assist strength at 99%, and then bump it up back to 100%. That's a little controller hack that most controller pros know, but they won't tell you guys, but you guys already know. Your boys got you right here. And then of course, linear, it doesn't matter what you play on. It's just personal preference. Expo or linear, they're both really good. And I do play on a 5.5 dead zone because fortunately I do not have stick drift. And then one thing I accidentally skipped over, guys, is the new FOV slider in Fortnite. If you guys are a controller player, you guys need to have these maxed out at 75 degrees and 105, as this is going to help you see more of the game and allow your aim to be way better than it normally would with the normal FOV. Now moving on to my binds, guys. Now I am a single claw player, so these are only going to be well for single claw players, and I highly recommend you guys just getting your own binds. Do not copy someone else's binds. Use whatever is comfortable for your finger, but I'm going to scroll through and you guys can copy them as you want. They are really, really good binds, especially if you want to get into claw or you use paddles. They're still good for both because I only play one side claw, which allows me to be one of the best controller players in the game. I've amassed over 30,000 earnings with these exact binds right here, and I haven't changed them in about 4.5 to 5 years. I've literally been using them every single day for over 10 hours a day. They're the best binds in my opinion, if you guys are a single claw or paddle player. But again, at the end of the day, just use what's comfortable for you. And that's gonna be the end of the video. If you guys did make it this far, make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. It helps me out a ton when you guys subscribe and like the video. And use code DiscSZN in the item shop. Comment 1 mil if my real fans made it here, and peace.